Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't done this already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for sure, and share the video so people can get it out. I'm a real small channel, but I'm very honest. I'm an honest citizen that carries every day, that likes to give you my opinion on some of the things in the firearms industry. So give me a subscribe, give me a like, share the video, and get in the comments down there and ask questions. I always appreciate questions. Just a quick video I want to make here, kind of, I want to say it's like housekeeping, but it's not really like housekeeping. There have been a lot of videos made about the SIG P365X macro. I've made a couple, and this video is not really about that gun in specific. It's more about some things that I've seen about guns in general and gun pricing that I think need clarification. So again, I am an 07 FFL and 02 SOT, so I'm a manufacturer of firearms and also an SOT manufacturer, so I can make NFA items. So any item that's on the NFA, except for explosives, I can't make that, but like short barrel rifles, machine guns. So I deal in firearms, and so I understand a little bit about the pricing. Now, I'm not going to mention any channels here, but there have been some pretty big channels that I think have made mistakes when it comes to the pricing of some miniguns, but in specific that macro. So the little thing that I want to say here, just to clarify things and how prices work in the firearms industry, is gun dealers don't make much of a margin at all on firearms. I know a lot of people might think that if you're a gun dealer, then you get guns like super cheap, and you can sell them super cheap, right? Or if you see someone selling a gun at a certain price, maybe they don't advertise it at that price, and then you see someone else that's advertising it at a higher price, you think, well, that person's ripping you off big time. And let me just tell you right now that that's not the case. Now, what brought this up again is some channels have mentioned some prices about that SIG that weren't exactly right. So I've heard it stated that the gun was purchased at a gun dealer for $700 or something like that, that's not just super cheap, folks. That's way cheap. Okay, the gun itself, just to use it as an example, the suggested retail price on the gun is $899.99, so $900. Okay, usually that doesn't equate to what the street price is. So the street price for the gun, or what most dealers are going to sell it for, is going to be, $50 to $100 less than that. So let's say $800 is about the going price on the gun. Well, if somebody at a big channel says they picked it up for $700, then everybody expects to pick it up for $700, right? Well, that becomes a problem, especially for like small dealers like myself, because if I sell that gun for $700, I lose money on it, to be honest, right? I'm not a big box dealer, and I'm not griping because it's me. I just I think that bigger channels ought to be careful in what they say. I heard another channel say that the gun was purchased for $820, and they felt like they got ripped off at that. Well, I mean, if the suggested retail price on the gun is supposed to be $899.99, and you pick it up for $820, then now you've got a pretty good deal on it. And even at the $820, let me tell you, gun dealers aren't making a lot of money on that. They just really aren't. Now, you could gripe, or if you want to gripe about the price of the firearm, then you could gripe about like what the factory sets the price at. It's not it's not up to the dealer to set the retail price on the gun. So if any of the bigger channels out here look at this, just please do a little research into like the suggested retail on the gun before you mention prices, because you could be putting out some information that really hurts smaller dealers. I mean, it just really does. The margins are tiny anyway, and with tiny margins we have to be careful as smaller dealers in how we price our firearms. So that, again, that was just some clarity on how guns are priced. I'm not going to get into a bunch of the technicals. Like, I'm not going to get into wholesale pricing and what they call minimum advertising prices, but those have a lot to do with the way guns are priced too. Just when I tell you, if you pay $800 for that gun, you got a pretty good deal on it. Believe me, that's true, and believe me that whoever you bought it from, they didn't make a ton off of it. They made a few bucks, and if you have a problem with a small dealer or any retailer making a few bucks on something they sell, then I can't help you there. And I hate to make this kind of message or do this kind of video, but as a pastor, I want to be honest. I want to be honest I want to be honest with how I deal with pricing, even though that's not a big deal here. But if we do videos and we talk about pricing, we need to be careful when we do that. We want to be honest and with what the retail prices are, and whether or not whatever price we got it at is a decent deal. So yeah, again, if some of the bigger channels are watching this, please watch what you're doing. And if you don't have anyone, which I'm sure you do, to give you those numbers like the retail price and so forth, shoot me an email, harrisarms@yahoo.com. I'll help anyone and give anyone prices. I mean, I have quite a few distributors, and I can always get the retail pricings on those guns, and that'll help out the smaller guys, right? So information doesn't get out there that causes people to really get mad at certain prices when they see those prices at the gun store. One other quick thing before I go. As everyone has heard, there's been like a leak, but not really a leak, when it comes to the pistol braces, so the AR-15 braced guns. The ATF had to ask for some money because they anticipate some upcoming expenditures due to this ruling that is supposed to come down in December. The ruling in December is, and don't take this as like legal advice. I'm getting this from research that I've done through the ATF and some other things, and some of the bigger channels on here that deal with some of those things. So the ruling that's going to come down in December is going to be, or we think it's going to be anyway, that they are going to do away with pistol braces on AR-15s, and they're going to deem that most AR-15s that have a pistol brace are actually SBRs, or short barrel rifles. A lot of people are really upset about that, but I'll have to be honest with you guys. And again, I'm always honest. I'm honest about this. We knew that was coming, right? Everyone knew that's coming. Now, it's not a question about is it an infringement upon our rights, because, I mean, let's be honest. Again, the NFA is an infringement on our rights, but that's the NFA. The NFA is the law. Right? So rather than getting super upset about this ruling that comes down, that we knew was going to come down anyway, let's pour some of that energy into trying to get rid of the NFA. Right? The NFA was a mess when it was instituted. It was an infringement upon the Second Amendment then. It continues to be. But the problem is that it is law. So laws there are certain steps that have to be taken to get rid of that. Now, as far as the braced ARs go, it's going to be a mess. I've heard all kinds of numbers of how many are out there. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 40 million plus. Who knows? But again, we knew this ruling was coming down at some point. Because, well, I don't want to say because pistol braces in general were a good idea, in that there are those people out there who are disabled and they have lost the use of their support hand. They're just not strong enough to be able to support the gun properly to shoot it, and the brace actually helps with that. But for the most part, and again, this isn't a number that I've researched, so I would guess it's probably more than 95% of the pistol braced guns out there that are in the hands, they're actually in the hands of people who have no disability, though. Because most people went to a pistol pistol braced AR because they wanted to have a shorter barreled AR platform. It just makes more sense for home defense, and it makes it a lot better to carry in your vehicle. And so rather than registering your short-barreled gun as an SBR and then having to deal with the red tapes involved taking it across state lines, you put a pistol brace on it and you were good to go from that end. So we all knew when we were doing it, or I did. I'm totally honest about it, and I'm, if I think this is the right way to think about it, that there was going to come a point when they were going to say, well, that doesn't really work because that's a short barrel rifle, which is not allowed unless it is registered through the NFA or the National Firearms Act. So yeah, it's going to be a huge problem. I think they're going to allow a amnesty period, they're calling it, which, and don't quote me on this again, I'm not giving you legal advice here. I think they're going to waive the $200 tax stamp fee for those who have pistol braced ARs to register them as an NFA item, right? To get a tax stamp so you can change it over to a short barrel rifle, which at least they're doing that. A lot of people say, well, this is a money deal, and it will be a ton. If they don't waive it, then yeah, it's going to be a ton of money they intake. But if you think about the whole tax stamp situation, they haven't raised that $200 fee since the 1930s when they instituted the NFA. So I don't know that it's driven by money. I think it's driven by those who don't appreciate the Second Amendment. I'll be upfront about that. But it is driven from their perspective that there is this law in the books, and they don't think that these pistol braces actually allow for people without disabilities to have a short-barreled rifle. Again, I completely agree with you guys. I'm all for the Second Amendment. The NFA is terrible, horrible, needs to be repealed and done away with. Right? I believe that that if you're a law-abiding citizen, that can own a firearm, you should be able to own whatever firearm you want. Short barrel rifle, machine gun, whatever it is, especially silencers. I think it was or suppressors. Most of the time we call them silencers, but they're suppressors. They don't really silence the shot, but they suppress it. But especially suppressors. Suppressors are, they're good for our health. If you shoot a lot, they help keep your hearing intact. So those should definitely not be on there. So yeah, the NFA should be repealed. But let's not get all up in arms over, I hate to put it this way, but that's what it is, something that allowed us to circumvent the law that was on the books, right? Because the pistol brace did that. It allowed us to circumvent the law that was on the books to have a short-barreled firearm without having to go through the NFA, register it, and pay the $200 tax stamp. Right? Again, I want to be up front with this, right? The NFA is terrible, right? I'm all for the Second Amendment. Let's repeal the NFA, but let's also be honest as we go through this that we were circumventing that law, right? So let's try to pour some of this angst that we have toward the ATF as they bring this decision down. Let's pour that into really pushing for the repeal of the NFA. And if we could do that, and you all could support those that are doing that, then I think we'd be a lot better off. If we could get rid of the bad law that got put in place rather than looking for a way to get around the law that's already in place, things would be a whole lot better. Now, that's all I had to say. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you have a comment on anything I've said, put it in there. I'll interact with you. And I appreciate you guys stopping by and giving it a look. Goodbye.